My name is Shawnice Jackson. I am a community and youth advocate from Baltimore, Maryland. I am a council member of the National Council of Young Leaders, where I represent public allies, and a founding member of Opportunity Youth United. I grew up in Baltimore City. I was raised by my maternal great-grandmother. Both of my parents were young teenage parents. They were deceased when I was really young, so I always kind of like internalized education being my pathway out of poverty. I worked really hard. I became a first-generation college student. Unfortunately, though, I wasn't prepared financially for college, but I didn't really know that until I was about 3 years in, and then had to drop out and find like an alternate route to graduate from college. So I did a service program called Public Allies, where I completed 2 years of service. It was an amazing experience that really started off my leadership journey and really propelled me into the nonprofit field. Joining Public Allies was a blessing from God and a turning point at what I feel like was the lowest point in my life. When I dropped out of college, or had to take a leave of absence, I honestly felt like that was my rock bottom. In a lot of ways, I feel like Public Allies was a saving grace. Not only did they allow me an opportunity to work in a nonprofit in my field 5 days a week and have leadership development trainings and gain this Ed Award, but I walked away from Public Allies with a sense of who I was as a professional and as a person. So after I left Public Allies, I had $12,000 to go back and get my bachelor's. So now I advocate on the national level as a council member with the National Council of Young Leaders. I represent Public Allies, but ultimately I represent other low-income young people who are essentially running into barriers towards opportunity. So we are essentially advocating for increased opportunities for young people, specifically around post-secondary education and careers and jobs that pay a life-sustaining wage. When things get hard, I feel like I look to the past for inspiration, knowing that, my ancestors, someone died, for me to be here, like people gave their lives, sacrificed their freedom, left behind, their families, there are so many, activists and abolitionists, that I owe it to keep going, to keep, the fight alive, the movement moving forward. Like, I can't just give up and, be willing to settle for the status quo, because I know that somebody fought and died for me to be here. I feel like I tell my story now with a lot more confidence, because I know not only is it changing minds and actually shedding light on a lot of issues and a lot of topics that some people just haven't experienced, or they don't necessarily think about it like that. But I also know that my story represents so many other young people. I'm not the only person who lost their parents early. I'm not the only person who lost someone tragically. I'm not the only person who had to stop going to school. Like, I know that my story, it really represents a lot of people, and even though it's my voice, I am the voice of thousands of other young people in the same situation. So even though I'm crying, I really am proud of where I come from now, and I know that essentially the best is still yet to come. My story is still being written.